My brothers and sisters, what is going on? This is still Sermon in the House, Saturday afternoon with another video. Do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Instagram and on Twitter. Links are posted in the box down below. Yeah, didn't think I'd be making a pirate video a week before Christmas Eve when it's cold and snowing and in the low 20s and high 30s outside and the NFL's still going on and playoff games are starting to, playoff seedings are starting to develop. But here are the Pittsburgh Pirates in the offseason still being themselves. So for my new subscribers, if you wonder how I am with the Pirates, this is pretty much how I am with them. Just so apathetic, so irritated, so negative. And how can you blame me? This franchise just continues to be a clown show. It continues to be a dumpster fire. And I'm wearing these throwback stuff by the Pirates, the old 90s logo here and the 70s hat logo here, because it's nice to be reminded of a time when the Pirates were something to be proud of. And you fast forward 30 years later, they're the biggest joke in the MLB. So what are the Pirates doing this offseason so far? Well, as usual, they're sitting down with their hands underneath their asses, planted firmly up there, not doing anything. Oh, you know what? As a matter of fact, I take that back. The Pirates do make moves, but they make the most backhanded, asinine, idiotic, moronic moves of all time. And I'll get to the main headline in just a minute. So, you bring in Carlos Santana, and I ain't talking about the guitar player. I'm talking about the washed-up has-been who was a vital piece for the then Cleveland Indians back in the day. And you bring him on in, because we need so much help at first base, right? When that problem can easily be avoided if you just kept Michael Chavis. But no, you let him walk. Why? Your guess is as good as mine. So you let Michael Chavis walk, a guy who gets on base, a guy who hits for average, a guy who's knocked in RBIs, a guy who has always come through clutch with this team this past season. A guy who actually has, dare I say, a bright spot with the team. You let him walk, and you bring in Carlos Santana, who hasn't been relevant in half a decade. Could easily have been fixed if you just kept Michael Chavis. Or if the Pirates actually, for once, didn't bury their frickin' prospects in the minor leagues and actually gave them their chance and experimented with them. Like I said, all year this past season, are we ever going to see Travis Swaggerty? I mean, geez, I just turned 27 years old. This guy is a little bit younger than me, and he's still in the minors. This guy's going to be freaking 30 years old by the time he gets called up. Why aren't you giving him his chance? But that ain't it. You bring in Vince Velasquez. Vince Velasquez. A guy who had an ERA of almost 5. A guy whose whip is below average. A guy whose WAR is dead on average. A guy who has struck out 69 batters. And a guy who gave up 40 out of 42 runs. And you're going to put this guy in the rotation? Are you serious? This is what you're giving a team to rebuild with? So yeah, those aren't popular with me. But the one that I'm really irritated with, and I think a lot of Pirate fans can agree with me when I say this, is how they are doing absolutely nothing about Bryan Reynolds' situation. So Bryan Reynolds, our all-star center fielder, a Gold Glove candidate, probably the best player that we have on this team. He doesn't have a powerful swing, but he can hit for pop sometimes. He's a really good average hit. He's a really good bat for average hitter. He gets on base. He's got a good set of wheels on him. He has a nice arm. So you're thinking to yourself, what in the world could possibly be wrong with Bryan Reynolds? Well, here's the deal. Bryan Reynolds is very upset with the Pittsburgh Pirates right now. And can you honestly blame him? Because why would he want to be happy with this franchise that does absolutely nothing with spending money, that can't keep prospects, that trades away valuable players, doesn't call up their draft picks, and doesn't call up their minor league players, and is in perpetual rebuild? And when they actually do have a good player, they don't supplement him at all with any backup or any pieces. So can you blame Bryan Reynolds? This guy's requested for a trade. And he just completed the first year of his extension. Can you freaking blame the guy for being pissed? What did you think was going to happen? I mean, let me tell you this. I think it's the most cliche sounding thing ever. But you know, remember being a little kid? What were some of the things that you wanted to be when you grew up? A cop, a lawyer, a firefighter. How about being the star player of your favorite baseball team? I can attest to a time where I had that fantasy about playing for the Pittsburgh Pirates, winning a World Series for them, and me being pretty much a god in Pittsburgh because of that. I'll tell you, if I was Bryan Reynolds, or if I was in the same situation that Bryan Reynolds is in, I would look this front office in the eye, and I would tell them, you know what, to hell with you guys. You guys are fucking losers, and I am not going to subject myself to playing for this trash heap franchise if you're not going to help me out. And I would sit out the entire season. I don't blame Bryan Reynolds one bit for being angry. I don't blame him one bit for requesting a trade, because we ain't going to help him. We refuse to help him. Because that would involve Bob Nutting pulling out his precious checkbook and actually signing players and spending money. If you guys lose this guy in center field, which is more likely going to happen if you lose him to LA, if you lose him to the Yankees, you lose him to Houston, whoever. I don't give a shit where he goes. And I know I'm cussing in this video, but you know what? This team is worth cussing about. If you lose this player, this rebuild, or lack thereof, is all for nothing. Sign players. Get help. Call up your prospects. I mean, how many times am I going to have to sit down here and say this? This should not be a problem 3 years into the rebuild. And you couple that with the fact that Derek Shelton is still the manager of this team. Pirate fans, expect a third straight 100-loss season. Because that's all this guy is good for. Losing 100 games a year, fumbling the lineups, never knowing when to go to the bullpen. And when he does go to the bullpen, they either blow the game or they make it closer than it should. In short, this franchise is clueless. How can you guys sit down here and say consciously this team is going to be good in the next 2 years? How can you consciously say that? This franchise has no clue how to rebuild. I mean, yeah, they know how to draft. But you know what? It doesn't translate to being a solid franchise if you bury your prospects in the minors. How many how many top draft picks has this team drafted since 2018 are still in the minors? How many? That's what makes me the most mad about this franchise. It's not so much Bob Nutting. It's not, it's not completely Derek Shelton. And it's not the fact that we can't beat anyone worth a damn in this division. And it's not even that we signed scrubs and washed up has-beens. It's the fact that we continue to bury the prospects. We refuse to supplement our best players. And it's going to cost you, because you're about to lose the guy we traded McCutchen for. A guy that has given us promise. And he doesn't want to be here anymore. Get the hell out of here with this, he's asking for too much, or, he's just being unreasonable. The Pirates are going to give it... No, screw that. You want to know why he's like that? It's because the Pirates made him like that. And I would be the same way if I was Brian Reynolds, I'll tell you that right now. So call me that. I don't care. Call me that. And that's what makes me mad. Another failure of an offseason and another 100-loss season coming right up, because this franchise is absolutely freaking clueless. Let me know what you think down below. Steel Sermon checking on out for the night. May God be with you all.